Let's do this full face step by step. This video might be a little long, so if you don't have time right now, save this and come back later. So I'm a brow first girly. I always make sure my brows are nice and dry before I go in with a pencil. I personally like brow hair strokes, so I use my Precising My Brow to draw a natural brow. And then I go with a pot concealer. I use this soft matte concealer, which is from NARS, to shape my brows up with some concealer. Then I go into my primer. I like to do something that's moisturizing as well as priming. So I'm gonna use this Bobbi Brown Vitamin Enriched Face Base and put this all over. Once I'm all primed, I go into foundation. For every day, I love a skin-like foundation. That's why I love this Pat McGrath one. You see how this just blends out into the skin? It's so pretty. I like to use a kabuki brush to really buff it into the skin. And don't forget to buff it into your neck as well, because we don't want no lines of demarcation. That's not cute. Next, we're gonna go into concealer. And this is my favorite concealer, which is the NARS Radiant Creamy. The purpose here is to bring in dimension after foundation. So I put it in the inner corners as well as the outer corners. I'm going to put this on my upper lip, put a dot on my chin, put a line down my nose and kind of blend it upwards. And then right in the middle of my forehead. And I kind of flick it outwards at the top so that it's easier to blend. Typically we'll let this sit for about a minute and I'll even dry it down with my fan. And this just helps us to have more coverage and to last longer. If you're a beginner, the Beauty Blender is your best friend because it's very easy just to blend out. But the thing with the Beauty Blender is it does pick up more product than a brush. So you also can use a brush that looks similar to this. On the edges, you kind of do that flicking motion and you blend it into the skin. Same thing for the under eyes. For this side, I'm gonna use my Beauty Blender. And the thing about this is sometimes you'll get too much product to come down here. So I'll always take my foundation brush and just go over that blend to make sure that concealer didn't go too far. You also can use the Beauty Blender to soften any lines of demarcation. Then I go into a cream blush. Then I'll just go in with like a stipple brush and blend that out. But I'm real big about placement, so I try to make sure that I keep it where I placed it. So at this point, you can do a brightening concealer, but I wanna make it very clear that this is unnecessary. If you do this step, I like to blend it out with a brush versus a Beauty Blender. This is really important to keep in the right place because we don't want this to go too far. Then I'll go into a cream bronzer. The placement of this is important. I usually will put it right below my blush, across the forehead. And then for the nose, I'll take a brush and brush it around the nose instead of drawing it because that can get a little harsh. Blending the bronzer is important because you want to keep that in the right place as well. So I kind of just push it in and blend it backwards on my head. You see how that just creates a really pretty gradient on the forehead? Yes. Before I set, I'll go in with my foundation brush right underneath. I don't add any extra product. I just do this to sculpt and get that snatched look. You see how now we have creases under the eyes? We want to get rid of that before we set. So I'm gonna go in with my Beauty Blender and look upwards and make sure those creases are gone. I rub the powder on the back of my hand, I look up, and then I place it directly onto the skin. We're looking up so that it doesn't set into any creases. Then I'll continue to take that lighter powder and press it everywhere where I had concealer. Now we have to set the rest of the face, so we're gonna go into a deeper skin tone powder. I'm gonna use a fluffier brush to make sure most of that product is off of there. And then I'll just press this into the skin to set everything else in place. Now we're gonna go into a powder blush, which is going to reinforce the cream blush that we already put on and set that in place. Now we're gonna go into a powder bronzer, and this is gonna do the same thing that the powder blush did. It's gonna reinforce the cream bronzer. It also helps to warm up the face. Additionally, for every day, I'll just wipe some bronzer on my eyes. That way they're not looking naked with a full face of makeup. And it just helps to tie the whole look together. Next, I'm gonna go into a cream highlighter. And I love doing a cream highlighter because it helps to bring the luminosity back into the face. The face is pretty much done, so we're gonna set it. And this is the One Size Until Dawn setting spray. Then we're gonna go into mascara. And then I'm going into a brown lip liner. And I don't overline my lips, I just go with my natural line. And I love a nude glossy lip for every day. So I'm going into this lip gloss and placing it right in the middle of my lips. And then I'll just build it up from there. And girl, we're all done. I do this pretty much every day. When I'm not in a rush, I'm just taking my time, listening to my music, doing my thing. Yeah, this is what we got. Let me know in the comments if you tried this look. I would love to see your makeup, sis. Bye, girl.
Let's do a beginner-friendly makeup tutorial with all affordable products from the Lip Bar. So I went in with the Lip Bar blurring primer and definitely find a primer that's compatible with your skin type. This primer felt like skincare rather than an actual primer. Now, of course, we gotta fill in our brows and make sure you have the lightest hand ever, but I love how this pencil was really pigment, and even with the lightest hand, it still showed up pretty dark. So looking for a really good, precise pencil, this is the one to get. Now, I went in with skin tint. You could definitely go in with foundation. I honestly just wanted to try it out for the first time, and I'm not gonna lie, I was not trusting the process. And what I love about it is that it still gave me a nice coverage, and it also blended out perfect while still looking really natural and still giving skin. And if you haven't tried a skin tint out, I definitely recommend trying this one. Now, I went in with the Lip Bar concealer, and as a beginner, your only focus is to be trying to understand your concealer placement and to learn how to blend it out. Do not get too caught up trying to highlight your nose or your forehead, because none of that matters. Just worry about the basic, and that is learning your concealer placement and blending out your concealer. Now, don't be scared to add a little blush to your face. When I was a beginner doing my makeup, that's all I knew was blush and concealer, and that's literally how I got through the day, with just my blush and concealer. Now, as a beginner, I definitely feel like pressed powder is way more easier to use rather than loose, so I recommend just learning how to use the pressed powder first before moving on to your loose, but make sure y'all set your entire face too. Now, the look is not done until you do a lip combo. Now, I wanted this tutorial to be dedicated to beginners because I definitely know how it feels to start off doing makeup and you're really lost and confused. My biggest thing as a beginner is to not get sucked up with makeup standards. Like, you don't have to beat your face in, you don't have to contour, you don't have to do none of that extra stuff you see other people do. Really just learn the basics until then. Okay, this is the final look, but a few things to remember as a beginner. Keep it simple, keep it natural, and of course, keep it affordable, and then work your way up over time. Hopefully, you guys enjoyed this beginner-friendly tutorial, and good luck on your makeup journey. Hi girlies, let me show you how to place your concealer and how to properly blend it out. So first I like going in with my Kylie Cosmetics concealer. Now for my concealer placement, I like making a slight square in the inner corner of my eye, and to give my face more of a facelift look, I like placing it at the outer ends of my eye. And I also like to highlight my nose and my forehead, and the same for my mouth as well. And remember that less is more, so you don't need to cover your entire eye with concealer. Now when it comes to blending out your concealer, I recommend this brush from Real Technique. I love how it's not too dense and it pick up less product. Now notice when I blend out my concealer, I am not dragging it nor swiping it. You never want to do either or, you always want to blend going up. And you also want to have the lightest hand ever when blending out your concealer. And notice how when I blend out my concealer, all I'm doing is tapping it in place. And this is how my concealer is looking once everything is nice and blended out. I will be having a more in-depth tutorial about this on my YouTube channel, so be sure to subscribe, and I'll see ya.